If I said that from now on I was going to upload 2 videos every single week, but next week I only uploaded 1, and the week after I only uploaded 1, and I repeated that pattern of behaviour week after week after week, you'd probably get to a point where you think to yourself, no Pete, I'm not going to listen to you anymore, because you keep saying you're going to do this, but you keep doing something else. So if you have people in your life who are saying one thing and doing another, here's 4 reasons why it's time to stop listening to what they're saying and start listening to what they're doing. Number 1, talk is cheap, and actions speak louder than words. I don't intend to put out 2 videos per week. I'm happy putting content out on a Monday, and if I have any extra content, I'll put that out during the week. But you can see how easy it is for someone to say something, only some people seem to have a real hard time following through on what they've said. And I'm sure that people aren't always being malicious about this. Perhaps some people say these things with the intention of following through on them. You know, some people could say something, promise something, say they're going to do something with the best intentions in the world, and they do intend to follow through on them, but hey, perhaps circumstance intervenes and they don't get to follow through on what they've said. For other people, talk is cheap, and it is difficult for some people to follow through on what they say. And so once you've had someone promise you something, say they're going to do something, and persistently not follow through on that, well, maybe it's time to stop listening to what they're saying and start listening to what they're doing, which may in fact be absolutely nothing. Perhaps it's a romantic partner, a family member, a friend, or maybe your boss promised to create you a role that's specific to your skill set, and they persistently failed to follow through on that course of action. Maybe it's time to stop listening to what they're saying, start listening to what they're doing. Number 2, time is precious. My time is precious. I dare say that your time is precious. And you know, I would even go as far as to say that the third party, perhaps their time is precious as well. If somebody has persistently failed to follow through on what they said they would do you really want to waste your time pursuing that same course of action, knowing that they've said it and said it and said it? And I'm not talking about someone saying they're going to do something, not following through on it, and the first time it happens you're throwing in the towel. They may genuinely have forgotten. They may have forgotten what they said they were going to do, or they may genuinely not have the time, because their time is as precious as yours and mine. But again, once you've had a handful of similar experiences of someone saying that they're going to do something and repeatedly failing to do so, maybe it's time to cease that course of action. Maybe it's time to stop asking them and to stop pushing them for something that they clearly have no intention of doing. Was it not Einstein himself that said that doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different outcome, is the definition of insanity? So if you have pursued someone to do something that they keep saying they're going to do, and they consistently show that they're not going to do it, well, at some point you risk your own sanity by continuing in that course of action. So perhaps it's time to let the matter go.
Number 3, it's the wrong tree. People who know me will have heard me say many a time, I'm not barking up that tree anymore. And it refers to a situation where I have tried to affect some positive change for someone or something, and having had repeated promises made that were not followed through on, I get to a point where I decide, you know what, I'm not barking up that tree anymore. I'll go bark up another tree, something that's worth barking up. And the phrase barking up the wrong tree, it refers to pursuing a course of action, a misguided course of action. And the thing about barking up the wrong tree is that the course of action probably didn't start off as misguided. You know, the course of action was probably with the best of intentions. But when you get to that point where you no longer want to bark up that tree because of promises made and things said that were not followed through on, from that point on, is it not misguided? Hey, my time is precious, talk is cheap. Am I going to pursue that same misguided course of action when I risk my own sanity because I'm repeatedly doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome? No, I get to that point where I accept the fact that, no, this is a tree that I no longer bark up. Number 4, if they wanted to, they would.
Now, this phrase is more commonly known for its romantic context. For example, if she wanted to text you back, she would. If he wanted to have your back, he would. But at the same time, the phrase if they wanted to, they would can just as easily be applied to situations involving friends and family, maybe even your boss. If somebody wanted to do something for you, then they would do it, assuming, of course, that they could. Not to absolve everybody of responsibility, but typically, if I'm asking someone to do something for me and they can't do it, I'd rather they just said, just tell me that you can't do this. Please don't tell me you will. Don't make me a promise that you're not going to follow through on, because eventually I'm going to stop listening to what you're saying and I'm going to start listening to what you're doing. But generally speaking, if they could and they wanted to, then they would. So if you are dealing with someone who is saying one thing and doing another, hey, maybe they're just using a bunch of cheap words to fob you off. Maybe their time isn't so precious, but hey, mine is. I'm sure yours is. And maybe you are barking up the wrong tree and thinking that they want to, but that they can't, when really if they wanted to, they would. Whatever the situation be, if someone's saying one thing and doing another, well, I wouldn't expect you to throw in the towel first time around, maybe not even second time around. But if someone is persistently saying one thing and doing another, well, I'm sorry, you might not want to hear this, but you've already got your answer.